Juju's going to have some snaps this year, I think.
I think you bring up a lot of great points, Brad. The first being the RPO game. This is going to be a much different offense this year under Kaidon Salter than we saw last year with Shedeur. The NFL draft has officially come to a close, and with that being said, there's a lot of guys that are going to have to step up for these key guys that were drafted in this year's NFL 2025 draft. I'm Nathan Johnston, here with my co-host Brad Hopkins. It's time to break the huddle. And Brad, new setup this week. We're loving it. We're enjoying it. We hope you do as well. Bear with us as we adjust. There's going to be a lot of major changes coming in a good way. But Brad, let's not waste anyone's time. Let's jump into it. This NFL draft had its ups and downs, not like we thought it would have last season. Obviously, the Falcons picking Michael Penix Jr. This year, we thought Shedeur was going to go a lot higher. That's a whole storyline in itself that we won't get into because it's being covered by every other network. But it is something to look to in terms of the Colorado quarterback room.
Right.
Shedeur leaves to the NFL, gets drafted by the Browns. Congratulations. Travis Hunter departs as well. Now Dion, with all the smoke has cleared, he's got to shift back. He's got to get ready for his next QB1, and we're going to take a look at a couple of these guys that are in that quarterback room this year. So let's not waste anyone's time. Let's jump into it. Two of the guys that jump off at the top, obviously, Julian, a.k.a. Juju Lewis, and Kaidon Salter. Juju Lewis being a 5-star freshman coming in this year. A lot of high expectations for him. Kaidon Salter, no pun intended, a seasoned veteran coming over, transferring in from Liberty. Brad, let's start with Kaidon, because I think he is the, I don't want to call him the quarterback one already, but I think he's the favorite to be Dion's starter day one, week one. Give us your take on the quarterback room and how you assess it moving forward into the 2025 year, particularly with Kaidon Salter first.
Absolutely. I think, and that's where I stand, when Kaidon Salter committed there, through the transfer portal back when it opened in December, that was my first impression, is that he's going to be QB1. And Nate, I think the fascinating thing that I'm really interested in is his skill set compared to what we've seen out of Shedeur the last two seasons at Colorado is completely different. With Shedeur, the Colorado running game, I hate to say it was non-existent, but it was not very, very strong. And of course, you did have Shedeur, you had Travis Hunter, a very good receiving core with Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn Jr., some other guys, and so they were a very, very much a throw-first team. I don't know the exact percentage, but I would venture to say 70-75% of the time, they were throwing the football. And now here comes Kaidon Salter, transferring into Boulder, and he's much, much more of an RPO guy, read option, triple option. They're going to have some quarterback design runs. So I'm interested to see what this offense looks like under Pat Schumer. Of course, the former New York Giants head coach, who he replaced Sean Lewis there in Boulder in Dion's first year. I think it's going to be a much different look offense. And I want to get to Juju in a second and kind of what he brings to the table. But one is they are replacing Travis Hunter and all those weapons. Take away Travis Hunter, that's still a very good receiving core. But, it was an elite room at times last year. And Shedeur was definitely good. 37, 38 touchdowns last year. He was very, very good, a high completion percentage. And now they've got to revamp this offense. I don't think Salter is quite as talented of a passer. I don't think he's quite as natural of a passer. I think he's good. But then, of course, replace those weapons. But also, you got to utilize his skill set. His legs are a weapon. He had a very, very good track record of running the football at Liberty. And so that, to me, is going to be a big storyline. We're done with spring practice, but going into fall campus, this Buffalo offense, I think you're going to see a lot of changes. Let's jump over to Juju Lewis, of course. For those that follow recruiting here on Break the Huddle, this is a guy that he's supposed to be a senior this fall, and he reclassified.
17 years old.
Exactly. He committed to USC for a long time. Ends up jumping to Colorado. When he reclassified, he did dip down in ranking a little bit, but still a very, very high rated guy. And Nate, I would put his skill set more towards Shedeur. I think kind of the what I call quote unquote point guard kind of quarterback where he distributes. He's not going to necessarily move his legs to run, but break the pocket to look for an open guy downfield. My big question with Dion, with Pat Schumer, and that Colorado staff is: are you getting him in 4 games to redshirt him, or are you getting him on the field as much as possible to look towards 2026? I personally think it's going to be that. I think they're not going to redshirt him. I think they want to get him ready. And like I said, I think how this Colorado offense looks this year is going to be a little bit of a one-off, because I think when Juju is ready to take over, I'm presuming next year it's going to go back to we're going to throw the ball over the field. So Colorado fans, would love to hear your comments. I'm interested. Like I said, I think Salter has definitely got the inside track, but Juju's going to have some snaps this year, I think.
I think you bring up a lot of great points, Brad. The first being the RPO game. This is going to be a much different offense this year under Kaidon Salter than we saw last year with Shedeur. And honestly, early on, I thought Shedeur was a little bit more dynamic runner than he ended up being. Mm-hmm. I was a little bit surprised by that, especially with how athletic and fast his dad was.
Right.
But nonetheless, to your point, you gotta key in on their strengths. Mm-hmm. When you're building an offense, you have to build around the quarterback. You cannot put your quarterback into your offensive scheme.
Right.
We've seen it successful when they do it the right way. We've seen it fail miserably when it's done the wrong way. I think Pat Schumer is going to be able to do that with either of these guys. Both of these guys bring in the athleticism that Shedeur did not have. That's the difference this year. Now, when you're talking about Juju, he's a little bit more of a shifty guy, right? Mm-hmm. Kaidon Salter is more of the big physical bulldozer. He's got the size of a guy, and Jalen Hurts is my NFL comparison in our notes that I brought forth for us. And Juju's more of the and I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but Bryce Young of Alabama.
That's a good comparison.
He's a more shifty, and you even mentioned it yourself, being more of that Steph Curry type player. Yeah. He's a little bit more undersized. I know we've talked off camera too. You mentioned, and I saw on social media as well, Juju's picking up some weight. Mm-hmm. Whatever regimen they've got him on with diet and exercise and strength and conditioning, he's really filling out the shape the way he's supposed to. Regarding who's going to start and who's, how they're going to utilize Juju, I think to your point, they have no choice. They have to play Juju. If they don't, they're risking a lot. For one, Kaidon Salter, he's a one and done. Yeah. I think we can both agree that after this year, he's going pro. I don't even think he has any eligibility left, to be honest with you. Point number 2, let's say he goes down. We might be looking at a situation like Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. You've got to have your guy ready, especially in college football, especially with all the transfers and all the outside noise that's trying to penetrate the inside of your building. You've got to get your second string ready. So whoever is that first string and second string, both of these guys are going to have to be on their A game. Absolutely. Both of them bring a dynamic aspect that we haven't seen to the Colorado offense in years past. However, and again, to your point, it's going to be interesting because you're replacing so many starters and one in Travis Hunter, who is just a generational talent. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see that this year. It's the same thing we're going to talk about in the future. We talk about guys like Brock Bowers. We talk about guys like Travis Hunter. Trevor Lawrence was one of those guys at Clemson. We saw the decline at quarterback play, and everyone freaked out. Hate to break it to Clemson fans, you're not going to find a Trevor Lawrence every year. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen. So I think Colorado finds themselves in a really good situation. They have a number 1 guy. He's young. He's got a lot of potential, and they have that seasoned veteran in Kaidon Salter who can provide that veteran leadership, that 3rd down, 4th down conversion, saying, hey, let's go out there and get this. Been there, done that before, been in some high-pressured situations, even if it is at a smaller school.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nate, I think the final point I want to make is I really feel like we're going to see what kind of coach Dion is this year.
Absolutely.
Because let's be honest, is that he did have the number 2 overall pick in the draft gone, who was the Heisman Trophy winner last year. Travis Hunter carried that team a lot of times, but there was some other very good talent on there. So to me, we are really, really going to find out. And before I turn it back to you, I'm interested to see, Colorado, both years Deion's been there, going into his third year, the offensive line play, it got better last year, but it's been much maligned. And a running quarterback like Kaidon Salter can cover up some of those deficiencies.
Absolutely.
I'm interested to see what kind of step the offensive line takes this year. They've got some talent coming back, and I'm interested to see if they take another step forward, because at times Shedeur is absolutely running for his life 2 years ago and last year.
That's a great point, Brad. This offensive line did improve, but it didn't improve that much. And if you go back and look at the tape, most of Shedeur's throws were less than 15 yards. There was a lot of screenplay. There was a lot of short down and distance. There wasn't a lot of opportunities for him to just heave it down the field, especially in bigger game situations. I'm curious to see how that plays out as well this year, too, with Kaidon Salter. I think he is going to be able to hide some of those deficiencies, because if we're being honest, Colorado has lost a lot up front, too. We've had a few guys transfer. I know a few guys have come in. I don't know if that system works in college. Free agency is a lot different in NFL than in college. I'll call it transfer portal free agency. I'm not afraid to call it that. I think you would agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be very intriguing to see. And to your point, this is like, I don't want to put too much pressure on Deion this year, because it is a complete turnover with the quarterback situation, with the Travis Hunter situation. Next year, the year after, these next 2 years really, that's really going to tell me, okay, is Deion fit for this level of coaching?
No.
Your son's gone. Your Heisman's gone. What are you going to do now?
Yeah.
I think it's a very similar situation. Not similar, but similar in the way of having that Heisman caliber player. I think I would compare it mostly to the Lincoln Riley situation.
Right.
A guy who is flashy, Deion's not younger, but you get the point.
Mm-hmm.
He's young in terms of coaching college football. Gonna be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
Gonna be very interesting.
And to your point about, we're really going to find out Deion's, really his coaching capabilities. One intriguing storyline, and I don't want to get too much in this, because we've got the offseason. This is going to be something, but if Deion does rattle off an 8 or 9 win year,
Big 12 championship run,
Big 12 championship, and a situation's developing in Tallahassee where Mike Norvell doesn't do good,
might get a couple phone calls.
Does Florida State start the transition of let's bring Prime back to Tallahassee? I don't want to jump too much into that, but
I don't think it's unreasonable.
But look, it comes down to these quarterbacks. It comes down to how do they play. I think Kaidon Salter has got a good chance to really be good in this Colorado offense. Like I said, it's going to be a totally new look. I'm interested to see that.
Two things working in Deion's favor. Number one, he's retained his staff, and number two, he's got the mojo, the flashiness, and the NIL capabilities.
Absolutely.
When you combine the two, it's a recipe for winning. Can he prove it on the field? Can these two quarterbacks come out and throw it and sling it the way we think they're going to? Yeah. That's going to be the biggest question. But I think that's some great points, Brad. If you're a Colorado fan, let us know down in the comments what you think about your Buffs heading into the 2025 season. Is Juju your guy, or are you going to go with the seasoned veteran and Kaidon Salter? We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle.